Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to tie up some of our copper-nosed bluegill jigs and talk about difficulties of fishing with ADHD, specifically bass fishing. Stick around and we'll get into it. Alright, like I said, today we're tying up copper-nosed bluegill. Alright, let's get started. With bass fishing, there can be a bit of a struggle with those of us with ADHD deciding on what we want to do. I've talked about this in past videos, there being a lot of choices out there for us in the way of lures and things like that. The color of lure, the type of lure, all that. So one of the ways that I have gotten around this is I pick 2 or 3 lures that I will take with me every trip. I don't always have 3 lures with me, but there are 2 or 3 that I feel are my confidence lures, and they are always with me. One of those being a jig, one of those being a Texas rig, and one of those being a spinnerbait. There are times throughout the year that I will take other lures with me, but those 3 are always with me. I will always have them pre-tied. I don't have any lures or any rods that are not pre-tied ready to go when I'm ready to go fishing. Being in your tackle box makes it easier for you to second guess what you're doing. And whether or not you realize it, being in that tackle box, you're making more decisions than you really need to be making in a short period of time. So what I'll do is I will have a specific tackle box for time of year that I'm wanting to fish, and it will have a couple of things in it. One will be, like I said, my jigs. I will put one jig that is a black and blue or a red and black, depending on time of year. I have one jig that's going to be a brighter color, such as a shad imitation or something like that, and one that is a craw or baitfish imitator, such as our copper-nosed bluegill here. If you minimize the amount of choices you have, you spend more time on the water. These little tips and tricks aren't just good for people fishing with ADHD. They are also for people fishing with young kids. If you give them less options, but you still give them an option, it allows them to make that choice and be able to decide, hey, I like these things, let's stick with using them. Another thing that can make it difficult is your seasonal affective disorder, or as some people call it, SAD. Right now it's winter time, and I find it difficult to want to get out and go fishing. So I have to find something else to do during the winter time here in Kansas, such as tying up my jigs and that sort of stuff. But there's always something you can be doing related to fishing to help you be more productive on the water. And other than the weed guard, that's number one. You could always take and put your line on your rods and reels as you are getting ready for the season. You can start making lures, whether they be hard baits, wire baits, or jigs. You can start making those. You can paint your rattle traps and square bills and deep divers. There's kits out there to do that. That will keep you engaged in stuff with fishing, but not directly associated with fishing, to keep your seasonal issues at bay. You can watch different techniques of fishing. Like, one of the things, I'm not associated with them in any way, but one of the things that I used to do during the winter before I started making jigs was I got the Bass U classes online, and that's where I learned some of these tips and tricks that I use today while I'm fishing. One of the things that got me into jigs is you can throw them year-round and be successful. They're not a seasonal thing. Another thing that I will do is I will research places that I have not been to fish yet in Kansas, or research a new type of fishing, such as I have never been one to use large swim baits or mini swim baits at all. But in the last few years, I chose to start getting some of the Mike Bucca baby bull shad and baby bull gills and start fishing with those and learning the swim bait techniques to keep things working. I will typically do about 2 or 3 weeks of research before I take a new bait out to use it, so that in theory I know how to use it, and then I turn around and can put that theory into practical use a little easier than just, oh, I think this is how I should fish this. You don't have to overthink bass fishing. It is one of the easiest sports to get into. It may not be one of the cheapest sports to get into, but it is one of the easiest, just like any other fishing. If you go and buy a pack of hooks, a $10 rod and reel, and some worms, that's all you really need to go fishing. You can catch a plethora of fish with just those items. You don't have to have the jigs and the swim baits and the soft plastics. You don't have to have those. Are they easier to use when you're targeting specific fish? Yes. But you can catch the channel cat, you can catch bullhead, you can catch green sunfish, just with a simple worm and bobber. One of these days, I will give you guys a rundown of all of my rods and reels that I have. And I try to have one rod for each type of fishing that I do. I have one that's set up for crankbaits and jerkbaits. I have one that's set up for spinnerbaits. I have one that's set up for finesse fishing. That's my open face spinning rod. I have 3 different setups for catfish. One for dough baits, one for live bait, and then I have a topwater rig. And that topwater rig, it gives me a visual feedback when I'm struggling to be able to get some of the visual feedback that you don't typically get with catfishing. But you can use the same setup as a bass fishing rig for a young child or someone with ADHD or just somebody who's never been out and been fishing before. Top rigs give you some of the best return for what you're doing. I didn't realize that when I was younger, and I would always want to throw things like buzz baits and spooks and things of that nature because I can see what's going on. I'm interacted with that bait, and I can tell everything that's going on. I have since switched to being able to throw things like jigs where I don't have to have that visual of what's going on, only because I have learned that there are other ways of telling what's going on. You don't have to use the thickest line out there. You don't have to use braided line for everything, which is what I used to do. Using a fluorocarbon line, I can run this bait along the bottom of the lake or pond or wherever I'm fishing and feel the contours of the lakes, the ponds, and know, hey, this is a good structure for whatever type of fishing I'm wanting to do. Like if I'm fishing a jig and I see a giant log sticking out, that tells me I don't want to throw open hook baits in that area. I want to try and throw more weedless hooks in that area because a fish is going to run toward that structure and try and get you hung up in it. And as I've said before, I treat this as a game. I will sit there and since I didn't get the glue on here, I will sit there, and now that I'm more experienced at fishing, and I've been doing it for almost 25 years as far as I know. I could have been doing it longer, but my first memory of going fishing was when I was a kid. It was about 25 years ago. Throwing something like this near a big snag, I never would have done. But knowing what I know now and being a better fisherman, I'm more comfortable throwing these near snags. So you learn as you go, and you treat it as a challenge to yourself. And there's our last one, guys. And just in that little bit of time of us having this nice little chat, we've got 3 copper-nosed bluegill done up. We'll go ahead and get these weed guards in. And that will be the 3 jigs that we make up for this video. But, you know, the more you go out and challenge yourself while fishing, the better you get at it. It's one of those sports that you get out what you put in. Just like any other sport, practice makes perfect. This is one of those sports that you may never become perfect at, but it is very fun to get out and do. I do want to go ahead and say that these copper-nosed bluegill will be available on Etsy, most likely by the time this video hits. I do have some more stock that I'm putting on, but as of right now, I am attempting to get as much out as I can onto the Etsy store. If you guys like what you see here, please like and subscribe. And again, here's that copper-nosed bluegill with a 1/4 ounce copper head, the medium weed guards, and our 4/0 Victory hooks. If you guys like these, they will be available on the Etsy store again. But hopefully this video has kind of helped you guys in some way, and we got to make some jigs up tonight. So if you would, please like, subscribe, and remember, try not to be boring.